Great. Okay. Welcome, everyone. So I really wanted to utilize these opportunities of us gathering online and us recording these sessions to offer a class for you when you are feeling exhausted or unwell, and a sort of normal practice doesn't feel accessible to you. So really you could do this practice lying down in bed. This is sort of what I was sort of basing it around. Probably wouldn't work with two of you in a bed, but I sort of explored it on my own, put my pillow in the middle of the bed, the middle top of the bed, and I actually did most of the practice without blankets on me, but you might have your quilt or your blankets rolled down to the end of the bed. So if you're in bed, you've probably got a couple of bed pillows. If you're not doing this practice in bed, then just have those in your practice space. I'm today not going to use the mat so that I can sort of recreate the bed sort of sliding texture underneath me. You might want to have a mat down for extra insulation or padding. You might like to put a blanket on top of your mat just to make it nice and comfortable. And if you're not in your bed, then gather a couple of blankets as well for the relaxation at the end. And I've actually taken the sofa cushion, the back of my sofa off. I'm going to just give lots of suggestions because we're all going to be doing this in a different place in our house, different either floor or bed. So I've just gathered that to give some examples. And also if you've got one, a square cushion or a couple of square cushions just for extra support. So in times of exhaustion, of fatigue, of inertia, often what the body needs is to be restful, to be sleeping, to rest. So whether you're doing this practice live or not, if there's parts of the practice that just doesn't feel right for you, leave it out. If you want to drift off to sleep, if that's what's calling you, then that is also an invitation, and we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the class or towards the end of the class. But at these times when exhaustion is very present and we're feeling grotty, sometimes just small movements and practices can feel very nourishing. We do need movement to keep us well and to aid the healing process, even if it's very, very small movement. And the benefits of this is that it can really take us out of the mental reaction to our physical feelings and state. So when we're feeling awful, the mind often attaches to that and can have its own suffering layered on top of the actual physical suffering. So having some movements, having some focal points, some breath practices can be very helpful for drawing the attention away from the ruminating mind. And movement is also key for circulation, blood circulation, and lymphatic stimulation. And also moving energy, stagnant energy that can just get stuck when the body is still for long periods of time. Good. So one more point before we get stuck in is how just having a little practice, whether it's this whole hour and 15 or whether it's just little snippets, can give you a sense of purpose in your day, or a sense of an empowerment. Not focusing on what you can't do. I can't walk to the shops or go and be social because I don't have the energy, but what do I have the energy for? And that might just be a simple breath practice, or that might be some small movements, but this shifting around of mindset of what can't I do, or I can't do this, to what can I do? What can I do to increase well-being and move towards a state of ease and harmony? Right, so sorry, one more thing that I suggested gathering is a scarf or a strap. We may use that for a moving practice, but I'd like to invite you to cover your eyes today in the relaxation. So something in that realm, it might be a hand towel. And then just come and lie down in your bed or on your floor. And I'm going to have my cushion nearby. You might like to place a bed pillow underneath your head. So I'm just leaving it to you to set yourself up in a way that feels serving and comfortable. And if it's comfortable to just extend the legs, then do so. If you need a blanket on top of you for warmth, then please do. Please make yourself comfortable. And resting your arms down by your side, letting your feet just flop out to the side, a little away from the midline of your body. And just arrive, you might like to take some sigh-like exhales. You might feel comfortable to close your eyes. Getting a sense of the quality of the support beneath you. So if you are lying in your bed, how is the support feeling beneath your body? And if you are lying on the floor, what is the texture? What is the quality of that support? Does it feel firm? Giving yourself a few moments to settle into this body shape. And as you start your practice today, setting an intention that you meet yourself where you are, moment to moment, letting go of any goal or striving attitudes and just letting go into the process, allowing the wisdom and knowledge to guide you, that inner innate knowledge that knows what is good for you, what you need. And that might be stillness, that might be sleep, that might be gentle movements. So as you settle a little more fully into this shape, and of course you can move and change the shape at any time, you start to sense your hands as they rest on your bed or on the floor. The hands are fantastic training ground for concentration and for awareness practice, as you don't tend to hold any of the emotional body. Can you feel the shape of your hands? Just let them relax and be held. You might notice the temperature of the hands. If they are out in the open, you might notice the temperature of the air around the hands. And as that awareness of the shape and the feeling of the hands develops, could you allow the arms to sink heavily into that support beneath you? So any effort is gradually leaving the body. Feeling the fingers naturally curling to say rest, relaxed, and effortless. And with that same effortless attention, could you start to explore expanding the fingers, stretching the fingers away from the palms ever so gently? They might just move a minute amount. You might stretch all the way out to an open palm. And then gently relaxing the fingers, softening the fingers back to the palms and making very gentle fists. Moving right and left hand together. And extending the fingers out again, like making little starfish with the hands. And softening in your own time, back to a gentle fist. And if today is a day of exhaustion and low energy, how small can you make this movement? How effortless can you make it? But all the while surrendering your full attention to this feeling, this felt sense of this movement in your body. And at some point, if you would like to, you could start to marry your breath with the movement of your hands, so that the next time your fingers curl in and make gentle fists, you exhale. And the next time your fingers start to open and lengthen, you inhale. So that your breath starts to dictate the speed of the movement. The movement is guided by your breath. Beginning to marry movement and breath. Anytime this feels unsuitable or triggering for you, then you might just return back to the movement itself. Allow the breath to just sink into the background. If this is feeling comfortable for you, then staying with this connection of breath guiding movement. Doesn't matter the length or the depth of the breath. Staying within a realm of comfort. And then just softening the hands when you're ready again. Turning back to some sort of stillness. As you just briefly review how that feels, how the residue of that little focus practice feels. Maybe you sense a greater invitation of sinking into the support beneath you. Perhaps there is a sense of a shift, whether that's a shifting away from heaviness and fatigue or some other shift that you notice. Maybe there's a subtle change. So feel again your hands as they rest on the ground and feel all the way up through the length of your arms, sensing the lower arms, your elbows, your upper arms, feeling your shoulder blades on the ground or on your bed. And if you'd like to, starting to internally rotate your arms, so not just your hands, but your whole arms. I'm starting with my palms turned up towards the ceiling. Your palms might be somewhere slightly different, doesn't matter. But internally rotating the arms so that the palms start to draw down towards the floor. And this will change the relationship with your shoulder blades and the ground. And then how about externally rotating the arms so that the palms start to face up towards the ceiling and maybe even out away from the body. That might feel a little bit unusual. And exploring this inward rotation of the arms, maybe the hands, the backs of the hands start to face the outer thigh, so the shoulder blades move apart. Gliding the arms externally so that the shoulder blades start to press down towards the floor, and there's maybe a little opening through the chest, the front of the shoulders. And you could make this very small. You could keep the whole arm on the floor as you just shift the weight outwardly and inwardly. Or you could overemphasize the movement through the shoulders and the length of the arms, depending on where your energy is at right now. And just knowing that that is shifting moment by moment. So this continual checking in and surrendering to the body, making the choices. And again, if you'd like to, you could link your breath with your movement so that as you externally rotate the arms, as the palms start to face up towards the ceiling and then maybe away from the body, there's an inhalation. And then as the arms internally rotate, the palms start to face the floor and then the backs of the hands towards the thighs. There's an exhalation during that transition. And if anything I say as a suggestion just doesn't work for you today, then please stay connected to what does work for you. If you are linking the breath with the movement, let the breath take the reins in terms of timing, so you're not straining the breath. And you can carry on this small movement intention. You could, if you'd like to go a little bit bigger, bend the knees up so the feet are on the bed or on the ground. And you could also add some pelvic rocks so that as your palms face down towards the floor, you come into internal rotation. You create a little bit of a lower back arch. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way. Let's start again. So as your arms rotate, and the shoulders open and the palms face towards the ceiling or away from the body, there is an arch in the lower back. And then as the palms face down towards the floor, there is a flattening of the lower back as you exhale. So again, I'm suggesting this based on the intention to bring more opening through the front of the body as you inhale, and more softening and yielding as you exhale. But of course, if it feels better to go the other way around, then you can explore that also. And using your comfortable, easeful breath to guide the movement if you are linking them. And if not, just finding a rhythm that feels nourishing. You might just take a couple more of these in your own time. And at some point, finding neutral, finding what feels like neutral for you. That could be with the knees bent still. It could be with your legs extended away from you, just taking a brief pause to review and to rest. And these restful tune-ins are really important to gauge where your edge is moment to moment. So if you come back to this stillness and it feels as if you're becoming more exhausted or more unwell, then it might be that you're doing a little too much too soon. If when you come to these pauses, there's a sense of energizing or ease, then that could be a sign that your body is benefiting from these movements. So these little reviews, these pauses in between are essential to guide us through the rest of the practice. Really getting to know what we need moment to moment. So I invite you to slide your legs away from you if you haven't already. And then a little bit like a frog, you can just slide the right knee open and place the right foot on the floor. And if it feels comfortable to, you could take the right knee in towards the body. Now I'm going to guide this with my left leg extended away, but you could do this with your left knee bent. That feels a bit more comfortable for the lower back. And at the moment, I've got my hand on my right knee. You could do this without hands, or if you want that sort of feedback of touch, you could take your scarf and just place it over your right front of the knee. But what I'm not doing here is wrenching the leg in. I'd really like you to keep a very gentle approach. So whatever you're doing, whether the knee is just hanging in space, whether the hand is on the knee, whether the hands are on the scarf, there is a sense of softening into your right hip. And from here, you could just stay here softening. You could add some movement by inhaling the leg away from you, just a couple of inches, an inch or two, and then exhaling the knee back in as it softens, not pulling it in, but just softening it in. And just noticing how you move between extending the leg away and drawing it in. There is a subtle massage occurring in the lower belly on the right side. Could you, as you link breath to movement, if that's feeling comfortable, encourage the breath down into the lower part of the rib cage, down into the belly, really engaging this diaphragmatic breath, which is helpful for stimulating that lymphatic flow. This is such a lovely, simple movement that can just bring a little bit of stimulation into the abdominal organs. This encouragement of blood flow and lymph flow through the hips and the pelvis. And perhaps just appreciating how simple can be so effective and nourishing. So at some point you might like to just pause there. I'm going to bring my pillow or my cushion. I'm going to distinguish this cushion and the bed is pillow. That might just be a bit easier. And you could explore starting to take the right knee out to the side if you'd like, and that pillow may or may not bring support. So I can use my hand or the strap to add extra support. And actually, let's just place the right foot onto the floor. So you can take the right knee open and you can just stay here. You can stay in this lovely open hip posture and you might just pause and breathe here. Or you could continue on with the movement by starting to bring the right foot to the floor or the bed as the knee points up towards the ceiling and then opens like a clam again towards the pillow. And slowing the movement right down gives you lots of time to sense and feel into the movement, whether it feels appropriate or not. Opening and closing, or maybe just staying open. If you are moving through the two postures, you could also bring a little sort of internal flexion to your hip by taking the right knee across the body just ever so slightly. And even though we're doing something so small and subtle, you might notice that there is some muscular activation here. There is some working going on. And of course, if it's too much working, then back off. And then at some point, you can bring this movement to a close. You can stay in that restful open hip posture. You might like to just briefly draw the knee back in towards the body. That could be with the left leg extended or bent. And maybe some very gentle hip circles. Could be really small and subtle. They might be a little bigger. Really doesn't matter as long as you're staying connected to whether this feels appropriate for you or not. You could have the hand on the knee, or you could do it without the hand, or you could use the strap. But what we're not looking for at this stage for this practice is to go into full range of movement, and actually staying out of that full range can feel really nourishing. It can feel really restoring. You know, we're just bringing the subtlest, smallest movements in times of fatigue. And then in your own time, sliding that right leg back onto the floor, taking a pause. It can just feel nice to tune into the two sides of the body after doing asymmetry. Curiosity to how the two sides feel different. We did a lot of this work last week when we focused on opposites. Good. And then if you'd like to, if you feel ready, sliding and gliding your left foot to the floor. And then maybe gathering it in towards the body. And the same goes on the side. The right leg could be extended away. If that feels unsuitable for your lower back, you could bend it and have the foot on the floor. What feels most suitable for you today. And as you start to float the left leg away, perhaps on your inhalation, and gliding it back on your exhalation, keeping sort of well within your fullest range of movement so that it's nice and small, nice and focused. The breath encouraged down into the lower torso, breathing right down into the diaphragm. And very gently stimulating the abdomen and the left hip and groin. I am actually doing this movement bigger than what I would be suggesting to do it, just to give you some visual. But if you are genuinely doing this practice, then you're really needing the rest, then make it small. Small can be as effective, if not more, sometimes, when there is mindfulness and awareness. You can do as many or as few of these as you feel you'd like to do, but at some point you could rest that left foot back onto the floor, maybe taking your cushion underneath your left outer thigh again. Then you can stack it up. You could put more support there if you'd like it. And if it feels appropriate, starting to open that left knee into that support, and that just might feel really lovely just to be there for a few breaths. Just pausing, breathing, sensing Or there might be a wish to continue on with some movement, placing the left foot on the ground, knee pointing up towards the ceiling, and then opening your left knee again into that open hip posture. Being cautious of any need for rushing or speeding through. How does it feel to slow the movement right down? How does the breath react to that slowing of movement? And here you can just allow the breath to flow in its own timing. It doesn't need to match the movement, although it could if you wanted it to. You might like to take that left knee all the way over the center line of the body, just gently taking it on an internal rotation. Doesn't need to be big. And this lovely gentle movement stimulating blood flow, shifting stagnant energy around the hips and the pelvis. And getting a lovely internal sense of your body, embodied sense. I've got my hands on my torso. You might have your hands resting down by your side. It really doesn't matter. You can let the body choose. At some point, you can bring this movement to a close. You could rest the left thigh open. You could draw that left knee back in towards the body if you'd like to take some rotational movements through the left hip joint. So it's lovely that all these movements can be done in the comfort of your bed. You might even be underneath your quilt if you're doing this in the colder months. You can change the rotational direction. It can be nice to just have a sort of free flow of circle with the leg without the hand. But if you'd like that extra support, use your strap, use your hands. Lovely, kind touch onto your body. Nice, and then you're ready, placing the foot back down, gliding it away in your own way, taking conscious rest and pause, placing the arms wherever feels soothing and comfortable, and tuning in with your experience here. Each tune in a new opportunity to notice. There is real deep exhaustion, and stillness might be what is needed. Please honor that. Be still as much as needed. Sometimes it can be useful if stillness is needed to just imagine that your body is doing the movements. That can feel nourishing if the body is just too tired to move. So you are continuing on moving, then bend your knees so that your feet come to the floor again, coming into a constructive rest-like posture, so the feet are a comfortable distance away from the pelvis. The arms could be down by the side. They could be out to the side. They could be in a sort of cactus-like shape. So all of those postures have an influence on the shoulders and the chest. So really just find something that feels easeful, that feels neutral and comfortable. Feel the back of the head on the floor, backs of the shoulders, and the arms, the hands. And starting to very gently shift the weight from the back of the head towards the side of the head as you start to turn your head to one side. Turning the head back up to neutral. And then turning the head towards the left side, opposite side. And just moment by moment transitioning the head from one side to the other. Bringing some nourishing rotations into the cervical spine without any kind of strain. Again, the movement might be minute, might be half an inch of movement that is still having an effect. Nice, maybe just doing one more on each side. Then once you return back to a neutral head, the back of the head is in contact with your support, your pillow. Explore just lowering gently or opening the feet fairly wide, sort of a width mat apart. And then explore just taking the legs gently over to the left. And noticing how that feels, you could bring them back up and take them to the right side. For me, actually, I've opened my feet too wide now. I'm going to bring them a little closer together. So you explore what feels the most nourishing for you, for your lower back and for your hips. And I'm going to suggest that we just stay on one side briefly. So you might take your cushion and place it underneath your thighs. Sometimes it can be nice to have the cushion between the thighs. But if this doesn't feel appropriate to hold the rotation through the spine and the hips, then don't do it. Or you might just come a little way and use, I've just folded my cushion in half and just resting the legs there, and that just brings a little bit of rotation through the spine. And either turning the head to look to your right arm or just keeping the head neutral. But if you'd like to, exploring a little bit of movement through this arm, through this right arm, as if you were waving or moving through water. And it can be any movement that feels nourishing here. I'm exploring just sliding the back of the hand up towards like a cactus-like shape, and then a little bit of internal rotation. I've actually got a little bit of discomfort happening in my right shoulder at the moment, so I'm just finding any movement that feels comfortable, it doesn't feel triggering. If you're recovering from any surgery in this right side, this is early days for you for movement, keep the arm low. And it might be that you're just lifting the arm an inch or so and then lowering it down, or you might just stay still. So moving or not moving, you make the decision. But at some point, starting to bring the legs back up towards the ceiling and then coming onto the other side. So using your cushion to support the thighs perhaps, or place between the thighs. You might look over towards your left arm and exploring movements here. You might slide and glide, bending the elbow into a cactus. Might slide the arm all the way down to the hip. What does feel nourishing? Where's your body guiding you to go? You could practice as if you have never moved this part of your body before, this sort of beginner's mind that feels new moment to moment. So if you've never moved it before, then you have to really take care. How does this body move in a way that feels serving? Be there for a couple more breaths if that feels serving for you. Come out if it doesn't. And you might come back up to some sort of neutral and maybe just take some gentle sways with the knees as you gently massage the back of the pelvis and the outer hips. Just swaying gently. Notice how this subtle sway of the legs influences your spine. Brings your spine into a spiral, a rotation. It might feel quite nice just to bring a bit of a massage, a little transition of weight into the back. And anything here that feels that you need next, that could be drawing the knees in towards the body. Taking a hug of the legs. That might feel too much today. You might do one at a time. Or you might just be resting in a constructive rest posture with the feet on the floor, or a shavasana with the legs extended. So making that movement, that last little sort of closing of the sequence your own. And in this next little segment of the class, you could do lying down still, or I just wanted to show some examples of what you could do sitting up in bed. So if you've got a back board on your bed, then you could bring yourself up, and I want to just show a couple of examples of how you might just use all your cushions in your bed to support the spine. You might use your pillow and then your cushion and then a pillow on top, just to create a little bit of a spinal incline. You've got a sofa cushion, you could put that on top. It just creates a little bit more support. So there's three options. You could lie flat on the floor to do this next couple of movements. You could recline your spine so you're sort of semi-upright. That can just bring a little bit more alertness to your practice. Or you could sit up fully. So finding what works for you. If you're sitting up fully, how's going to be best to show this? Maybe I go sideways, I think. Yeah, I'm just going to lean back onto my hands here. You might be leaning against your bed board. You might be leaning against a wall. Doesn't really matter. You might be lying down. And that's fine too. Then just take if you are upright, just take a little look of your feet and your toes and just the natural turnout as you let your legs flop apart. If you're lying down, you could just sort of imagine what they look like. I notice a big imbalance when I do this in my legs. One leg turns out a lot more than the other. You might be noticing some differences between your two sides also. Just bringing a little bit of energy through the legs, a little bit of activation as you bring the legs parallel so that the toes are pointing upwards towards the ceiling, the knees are pointing upwards, but the legs are still fairly relaxed. Just starting to squeeze the toes in towards the feet, squeezing the toes, and then opening the toes, lengthening, and maybe even flexing the feet slightly. Again, I am just exaggerating this so that you can hopefully get a bit of a visual, but of course you can do this a lot less. You could back off 50% and still create an influence, an effect in the body. So squeezing the toes, lengthening. If you'd like to marry your breath with your movement, you could exhale to squeeze, inhale to lengthen, open, or the other way might feel more serving for you. Good. And then just shaking the feet, windscreen wiping the feet, just in and out together. You see the legs are externally and internally rotating. It's like you're sort of, you're waving. And they're just having their own little wobble here. Not trying to control them. You can even just keep their legs fairly still and just wiggle the feet. That can feel quite nice. And just this very effortless movement can be lovely for stimulating that flow, that circulation, the lymphatic system. And then just briefly circling the feet, circling the toes. You can do it in the same direction. You could do it in opposite direction, or you could do it in the same direction. Maybe doing 4 in one way and 4 in the other. And if you're sitting up, you can see your feet, but you might just like to close your eyes so that you can really get a felt sense of this movement in your body. Little movements. Good. And then just briefly, just opening the knee like a frog, bringing the foot to the floor and sliding it back down. You can do this sitting or lying. Opening, foot on the floor, sliding down the bed or the ground. And same on the other side when you're ready. Taking as many or as few as you would like. Good. And just a couple more things I'd like to try and include before we come into our final rest. If you'd like to, coming back down to lying, you might have a pillow underneath your head. Try and bring myself fairly straight to the camera if possible. And if you'd like to, just taking a supine or a lying twist. So that could be back with the feet on the floor, knees slightly apart, taking the legs over to one side. The arms might be out to the side. Sometimes it can be nice just to take this top leg over the bottom leg. You might use a pillow or two to support the leg. A little bit like you're going to come and roll onto your side. This left arm, if you're twisting over to the right, could be on the floor. It could be more as if you're going to lie onto your right side. Breathing down into your diaphragm. And then maybe coming over to the other side when you're ready. Either feet on the floor, pivoting onto the sides of your feet, or you might take the right leg over the top of the body, onto your cushion. That arm might be tucked in. If opening the arm doesn't feel suitable, then you can draw it in, you can have it on the body. Twists are a fantastic way of keeping the digestive system and the abdominal organs stimulated. That slightly restricted breath, let's give them a nice gentle massage. Good. So if there's anything else that you feel that you'd like to do before coming into your final rest, after your twists, it can be helpful to come into some sort of symmetry. So you might like to just place your feet back onto the floor and just take a moment feeling into that symmetry in your body as both left and right foot equally contact the ground. I actually really wanted to do a breathing practice with you today, but I think we'll have to leave that till next week. Like to give you a lovely held and supported rest. So wherever you are in your space, whether you're in your bed, whether you're on the ground, please set yourself up in a very supported and comfortable resting posture. So suggestions might be a pillow or two underneath the head, depending on what your body needs. You might place another pillow or two underneath your knees, perhaps. Oh, that's lovely. Like this big sofa cushion for the legs. And what I'd really like you to do for this practice, and place any blankets or quilts on top of your body if you're chilly, and even if you're not chilly, actually, just having that felt warmth, and also when your body starts to relax and drop into rest, then the temperature often drops off. So you will know, but I recommend having something at least close by. And then once your body feels nicely set up and comfortable, and before you do this next addition, I'll just suggest the arms could be either down by your side, or they could just be resting somewhere lovely and soothing on the body. How about placing some cover over your eyes? So it might be a hand towel, might be your scarf, so that you are blocking out all of the light in your space. And I'm just going to leave you for a moment to get set up for your final rest. And I'll just do a couple of little technical things. I'd like to record the rest separately, so you've got that recording on its own. And what I'll do actually is place an image up on the screen while we do this meditation, because you don't need to see my face for it. See if I can find what I have planned. So I'm still with you. Great. So making any other little adjustments to your resting posture, anything that could make you 5 or 10% more comfortable. Know that you can move and shift throughout this practice anytime you need to. Just placing that eye cover to block out any light if that feels safe and comfortable for you today. And so this guided meditation is for you to use if you need a little pocket of rest, but also could be used as an aid for falling to sleep. So give yourself some time to settle here and trust in any fluctuations of different states of consciousness. It's okay to fall asleep in this. So it's likely that you will drift in and out of different states of consciousness. Could you allow for that transition and that flow to happen? When a being is exhausted and unwell, sometimes the best place to be is in sleep. So feeling the ground, feeling the contact of your body on the ground or in your bed. Again, sense into that quality of support beneath your body. And feeling the shifting shape of your body, changing one breath at a time. This soothing, rocking motion of your breath. And as you surrender into this guided meditation, could you trust your natural, innate ability to rest? And there is often a relief that comes when you surrender to the wisdom of your body, as you trust that it will unwind in its own time, that this is a process of unraveling. And trusting that this can happen with any need to intervene or to control the process. And in most meditations, we try to resist sleepiness and stay connected to quality of alertness. But in this circumstance, allow the fluctuations of consciousness to happen. This is an invitation to sink into the wisdom of your body so that you don't resist any nodding off if that's what you need in the moment. Embracing the flow of drifting in and out of different states of consciousness. There is a deep intelligence that happens in the state of sleep. Which is really the same as that stillness that we come to through practice in meditation, we don't access in normal awake and analyzing mental states. When the mind quietens and gets out of the way, the wisdom body in rest and sleep helps put us back together again. So as you rest in this posture, turning away from external stimulus, this darkening, shading the eyes helps quieten the nervous system. This darkness being a preparation for sleep and rest. To allow the attending part of your mind to fall asleep. If there are jobs or thoughts that are calling your attention, you imagine just placing them in a box, placing the lid on top and sliding them to the side. For the time being, you can return to them later if needs be. So put aside any analyzing, any working out, any to-do list. Dissolve thinking into sensing and being. And sensing into your upper chest and very softly and gently feeling into the area of your heart. And if you'd like to, briefly reflecting on anything you feel grateful for right now. It might simply be taking this time out to be still and to rest. Any appreciation that arises as you soften into quietness. Cultivating an inner sense of refuge, of safety, with an attitude of letting go, of sinking into whatever is happening moment by moment. Feeling into the support being received by your body. Feeling held. Cooling back all of the energy that is usually flowing outwards and drawing it back into your inner landscape. Pulling it in towards only this moment. Only this breath. Just being with calming quality of your breath. Continually rocking and shifting your body. Allow your being to sink more fully into a restful and non-doing state. gently feel into the space in front of your body. And above your body, feel the space below your body as it rests here. Feel out to the left side, space to the left of your body, and the right. Your attention moving now in all directions. Now imagine your body like a comfortable home with all the lights on. And the home has many rooms, lots of hallways and passageways, corridors, some multiple levels. We'll move our presence through the different spaces within this house, within your body. And just like when you turn lights off in your house, there remains still an electrical current that resides within the system. Your awareness is just like this. You sink into the quietening of letting go and sinking into rest. Your presence, much like these electrical currents, remain aware and feel without any effort. Sensing into your whole body like this sprawling home with all the lights on, and the lights representing the momentum from the mental and physical doing. Starting to sense into the whole head as it rests. And as we turn the light off in the head, presence remains. The soft and soothing darkness resides. Eyes sinking back and down. Soft cheeks and jaw. And the inside of the mouth relaxes. As the light turns to darkness, there is a quietening in the whole of the head. Sense of sound moving inwards. Soaking your presence to the inner walls of your throat as you turn the light from active and on to effortless and off. Sinking your attention down now into your chest, into the contents of your rib cage. You turn the lights off in this upper cavity of your torso. Presence, flow still remains. softening into that quietening darkness. Feeling the arms and the weight of your arms. And as you turn the lights off in the arms, they rest more fully, more completely on the ground. Presence gently coming to the abdominal cavity, beneath the diaphragm, all the way down to the pelvic bone. Whole abdominal cavity, lights off, sinking into darkness, sinking into quiet, soft rest. And as you soak your presence into the legs and the feet, turning the lights off here so that they can rest. You can sink more fully into non-doing rest. Whole body dark, quiet and resting. Welcoming deep rest into your whole being. Resting here with the light touch of your breath. Breath soothing, effortlessly washing over the lungs and the heart, one cycle at a time. Embracing the nourishing darkness, softening into it, as even your inner sensing quietens. Only watching from the mind, switched off, sinking back and down. Body being held. Sinking fully into that nest-like support beneath you. Resting fully on this earth that is holding and supporting you. Now We start to bring this guided rest towards a close. Of course, if you've drifted into a lovely restful state, maybe even into sleep, that's absolutely fine. You might just like to close this off so you can rest in your own stillness. You are starting to feel ready to transition out of your practice. Maybe just bringing some natural movements back into your fingers. Maybe squeezing the palms, lengthening the fingers. And any other gentle movements that are calling you back. And could you stay present with how you're feeling, with your inner state as you start to transition out of your restful state? Do take your time. Could you stay connected to sense of dark and quiet qualities? So I will bring this recording and this practice to a close. So just to ground yourself, I suggest coming to sit on the floor, in a chair, if you are bringing this to a close. If you're lying in your bed, then you might like to just ground yourself lying in your bed still. You might like to bring your hands together in front of your heart and feel your whole physical shape, whatever shape you are in right now. Feel out into the edges of it. Feel a sense of stability through your physical shape. Feel where your body is being supported by the ground or chair or bed. Feeling physically present again, physically present. Namaste.